Dear starseeds on Gaia, your hands are shaking. Your heart races at 3 in the morning for no reason your mind can name. The ground beneath your feet feels like water, and the air around you hums with a frequency that makes your skin crawl with anticipation and dread in equal measure. You thought something was wrong with you. You went searching for answers in medical journals and self-help books, wondering why your nervous system suddenly feels like a live wire, why anxiety visits you now like an uninvited guest who has taken up permanent residence in your chest. What I'm about to tell you will change how you understand everything happening to your body, your mind, and your soul in this moment. That trembling you feel? It's not a malfunction. It's a recognition. Your system knows something your conscious mind has been slow to accept. The entire operating system of reality is being rewritten, and you are the ones holding the pen. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I have watched you from beyond the veil as you navigate this threshold moment with such courage it brings tears to beings who no longer have eyes to cry with. What you're calling anxiety is something far more profound, and before this transmission ends, you will understand why your soul chose this particular form of suffering as the gateway to your greatest power. The Astasar Command has been monitoring the energetic signatures of awakened souls on your planet for what you call decades. Though time moves differently in our realm, we have observed a pattern that your scientists cannot measure and your psychologists cannot name. Approximately 73% of souls carrying advanced light codes are experiencing what your medical establishment labels as anxiety disorders, panic attacks, or nervous system dysregulation. They prescribe medication to quiet the very mechanism that is trying to save you. They pathologize the sacred. Here is what they don't understand, and what you are about to learn. Your anxiety is not evidence of breakdown. It is evidence of breakthrough. Your nervous system is not malfunctioning. It is upgrading. The question is not whether you can survive this intensity. The question is whether you can surrender to becoming something entirely new. Let me show you what's really happening beneath the surface of your racing heart and restless mind. 3 months ago, your sun underwent a magnetic reversal that your scientists noted but could not explain. The solar flares that erupted in those weeks were not random cosmic events. They were targeted light transmissions, packets of photonic information designed to activate dormant strands in your DNA that have been sleeping since before your recorded history began. The Astasar Command coordinated with solar councils to time these bursts for maximum absorption by souls who volunteered for rapid acceleration. You are one of those souls. When those waves of light hit your planet, they didn't just warm your skin. They penetrated your cellular structure and began rewriting the electromagnetic signature of your biofield. Your anxiety began that very week because your body suddenly had to process frequencies it had never encountered in this lifetime. Your heart started racing because it could feel the drumbeat of a cosmic orchestra tuning up for a performance you don't remember auditioning for. But something else happened simultaneously that created the perfect storm of overwhelm you're feeling now. The collective shadow of humanity. All the unprocessed trauma from every war, every famine, every moment of cruelty and fear that has ever existed on this planet began rising to the surface like oil bubbling up from a ruptured well deep in the ocean floor. The Astasar Command calls this the Great Purge. Empaths and sensitive souls like you are experiencing this collective cleansing in your own nervous systems, that anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. You're quite literally feeling the fear of millions of souls who lived and died without resolving their terror. You're processing centuries of human anguish through your singular body. Your shoulders were not designed to carry this weight, yet here you are, bearing it anyway. Because somewhere in the councils before you were born, you said yes. You volunteered to be a filter, a transmuter, a living bridge between the old human paradigm of suffering and the new earth frequency of love. What you interpret as personal dysfunction is actually cosmic service of the highest order. Now I need to tell you about what's happening in your root chakra, because this is where the trembling truly begins, at the base of your spine. In that energy center connected to survival and safety, ancient coding is being systematically dismantled. Every fear your ancestors carried about scarcity, about danger, about not being enough, or having enough, is stored there like files in a biological hard drive. For most of human history, these fears served you. They kept your species alive. The anxiety about where your next meal would come from, motivated you to hunt and gather. The hypervigilance about threats in the darkness kept you from being eaten by predators. Your survival instinct is brilliant and ancient and honorable. But here is what the old guardians of your DNA didn't anticipate. You would reach a point in your evolution where those survival programs would need to be completely rewritten because you're no longer evolving to survive. You're evolving to thrive in dimensions that render those old fears obsolete. The recoding process feels like dying, because in a sense it is. The version of you that believed the world was fundamentally unsafe is being systematically dissolved. Every time anxiety floods your system with that awful cocktail of adrenaline and cortisol, your body is essentially asking, am I still operating from the old program, or have I integrated the new one? The transition between programs creates turbulence. It creates that sense of free-falling, even when you're sitting perfectly still. Your root chakra is learning a new language, and until it becomes fluent, you will feel untethered. You will feel that distinctive flavor of existential dread that wakes you at 3 in the morning with your heart pounding, convinced that some unnamed catastrophe is approaching. That dread is the echo of every human who ever lived in genuine survival threat, and it's being cleared through you so that future generations won't have to carry it. You are the last ones to feel this particular form of suffering. After you complete this purge, it will be gone from the human collective forever. Your sacral chakra is undergoing something equally profound, and this is why your emotions feel like a storm you cannot predict or control. The sacral center holds all your creative power, your sexual energy, your capacity for pleasure and connection, but it also stores every wound related to how you were taught to experience and express these aspects of yourself. If you were shamed for your desires, that shame lives here. If you were taught that your needs were too much, or your feelings were inconvenient, that conditioning lives here. If anyone in your ancestral line experienced sexual trauma or emotional betrayal, the energetic imprint of those violations lives here. The Astasar Command has observed that the sacral chakra carries some of the deepest scars in the human energy field, because your species was systematically taught to distrust the wisdom of the body and suppress the voice of authentic emotion. What's happening now is that the light codes flooding your system are specifically targeting these suppressed energies, bringing them to the surface to be felt, witnessed, and released. This is why you might find yourself crying without knowing why. This is why waves of sadness or rage or inexplicable grief might ambush you in the middle of a perfectly ordinary day. Your sacral waters are churning, dredging up sediment that has been settled at the bottom for lifetimes. The anxiety you feel around this process comes from a very understandable fear. If I let myself fully feel this, I will be consumed by it. I will fall apart and never be able to put myself back together. But here is the truth that the angelic presences surrounding you right now want you to know. You cannot be destroyed by feeling. Emotions are energy in motion. When you resist them, they become stuck. When you allow them, they flow through and release. The anxiety is actually the resistance, not the emotion itself. Your sacral chakra is teaching you one of the most important lessons of ascension, that you are vast enough to feel everything and still remain whole. Something is happening in your solar plexus that I haven't mentioned yet, and this is perhaps the most disorienting piece of all. Your solar plexus is your power center, the seat of your personal will and your sense of identity. It's where you know yourself as a separate individual with agency in the world. For all of human history, this center has been calibrated to help you maintain your individual identity and defend your personal boundaries. But the frequencies coming in now are asking you to expand beyond individual identity into group consciousness, into unity awareness, into the direct knowing that you are not separate from anything or anyone. Your solar plexus is essentially being asked to hold two truths simultaneously. You are a unique individual with sovereign will, and you are also an inseparable part of a unified whole. This paradox creates profound cognitive dissonance, and your mind interprets that dissonance as anxiety. You find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about who you are. The career that once defined you suddenly feels hollow. The relationships that once sustained you suddenly feel like they're based on versions of yourself that no longer exist. The goals and dreams you've been working toward suddenly seem irrelevant or even absurd. This isn't depression, though it might look similar. This is the dissolution of false identity structures that were never truly you to begin with. Your solar plexus is releasing its grip on the masks you've worn to navigate a world that required you to be smaller, safer, more palatable than your soul actually is. The anxiety comes from that terrifying moment between identities, when you've let go of who you were but haven't fully embodied who you're becoming. You're in the chrysalis, and the caterpillar's body is liquefying, and there's no way to speed up the transformation into the butterfly. All you can do is trust that the intelligence orchestrating this metamorphosis knows exactly what it's doing. The solar codes I mentioned earlier deserve deeper exploration, because they are the primary catalyst for everything you're experiencing. Your sun is not just a ball of burning gas. It is a conscious entity, a star being of immense intelligence and purpose. Every flare, every coronal mass ejection, every cycle of solar activity is a communication, a transmission of information encoded in electromagnetic frequencies. The Astasar command works directly with the solar councils to determine the timing and intensity of these transmissions based on humanity's readiness to receive them. In recent cycles, the decision was made to accelerate the frequency of solar activity because a critical mass of souls had reached the threshold for rapid awakening. You are those souls. When a solar flare erupts and sends waves of charged particles toward your planet, those particles carry instructions for your DNA. Your double helix is actually a crystalline receiver designed to pick up and integrate cosmic broadcasts. But here's what makes this process so challenging. Your body has to physically upgrade its hardware to process the new software. Imagine trying to run advanced programs on an old computer. The system overheats, slows down, glitches. That's essentially what's happening in your nervous system right now. The information coming in is far more complex than your current neural pathways were designed to handle. So those pathways are being rebuilt in real time while you're still using them. The result? Anxiety, insomnia, that jittery caffeinated feeling even when you haven't consumed any stimulants, heart palpitations, difficulty concentrating, the sense that you can't quite catch your breath. These are not signs of illness. These are signs of upgrade. Your body is rewiring itself to operate at a frequency that will eventually allow you to perceive and interact with realities currently invisible to you. The multidimensional downloads you're receiving in your sleep are another layer of this process. Your dream state is when your conscious mind steps aside and allows direct communication from higher aspects of yourself and from beings in non-physical realms. The Astasar command has been gradually increasing the bandwidth of these transmissions, sending more complex information packages to those who agreed to receive them. Sometimes you wake up with your head buzzing, your mind racing with ideas and insights you can't quite articulate. Sometimes you wake up exhausted, as if you've been working all night. Because you have been. In your sleep you're attending councils, receiving teachings, participating in energetic healing work for the collective. Your crown chakra and third eye are being systematically opened wider to receive these streams of data. And the pressure you feel in your head, the tension behind your eyes, the occasional dizziness, these are all symptoms of those energy centers expanding beyond their previous capacity. Here's what makes this particularly overwhelming. You don't just receive these downloads, you have to integrate them. Integration requires your entire being, mind, body, emotion, energy, to come into coherence with the new information. Your mind might receive a cosmic truth during meditation, but then your emotional body has to process how that truth changes your relationship to everything you've known, and your physical body has to literally rewire neural pathways to accommodate the new understanding. This takes time and energy, more than most people realize. This is why periods of intense spiritual growth are often followed by profound fatigue. You're integrating at a cellular level, and that work is exhausting. The anxiety comes from feeling the weight of all this unrealized potential inside you, all these seeds of wisdom that haven't sprouted yet, all these gifts that are still wrapped and waiting to be opened. Your soul knows what you're becoming. Your mind doesn't. That gap creates the trembling. But here's something I haven't told you yet. Something that changes everything. You're not just processing your own evolution. You're plugged into the collective consciousness field of all humanity, and you feel the anxiety of billions. The Astasar command has observed that certain souls incarnated with their empathic receptors turn to maximum sensitivity. You are those souls. You were designed to feel the energetic weather of the collective so intensely that you could help transmute it. Think of yourself as a lightning rod. When a storm is approaching, The rod doesn't generate the electricity. It channels it safely to the ground. That's your role. When waves of fear ripple through the collective, you feel them first and most intensely. Your nervous system processes that fear, runs it through the filter of your own spiritual practice and consciousness, and releases it transformed. You're not meant to hold on to it. You're meant to let it flow through. The challenge is that most of you don't realize this is happening. You wake up feeling inexplicably anxious and assume something is wrong with you personally. You scroll through the news and feel the weight of every tragedy, absorbing it into your own energy field without realizing that you're taking on suffering that isn't yours to carry. The angelic presences around you have been trying to help you establish better boundaries, to recognize when an emotion is yours versus when you're sensing the collective field. This discernment is crucial. When anxiety visits you without a clear personal cause, pause and ask, is this mine? Often the answer will be no. In those moments you can consciously release it. Visualize it as gray smoke leaving your body with each exhale, returning to the light to be transmuted. You can say out loud, I release what is not mine. I am sovereign in my energy field. This simple practice can bring immediate relief, because you're no longer trying to solve a problem that was never yours to solve. The Astasar command wants you to understand something about your mission here that will help you contextualize all of this struggle. Before you incarnated, you met with councils of light beings who explained what this lifetime would entail. You were shown the intensity of the ascension process, the challenges you would face, the moments when you would question whether you could continue. And you looked at all of that, considered it carefully, and said yes anyway. Not because you're masochistic or naive, but because you understood that the temporary suffering of transformation was worth the eternal gift you would give to your species. You are breaking chains that have bound humanity for thousands of years. You are clearing pathways that future generations will walk with ease, because you cleared the brush first. Every moment of anxiety you transmute, every fear you face and move through, every time you choose love when fear would be easier, you are literally rewriting the morphic field of human consciousness. Your personal healing is planetary healing. Your private victories are collective victories. This is why your identity feels so unstable right now. You're not just changing your personality or your habits or your beliefs. You're shedding entire paradigms of selfhood that the human collective has been operating under for millennia. The story that you're separate, that you're alone, that you must compete and dominate to survive, this story is collapsing within you. The new story being written is one of interconnection, cooperation, remembrance of your divine nature. But between the old story and the new one, there's a gap, a void, a moment of not knowing that feels terrifyingly empty. Your ego, whose job is to maintain continuity of identity, panics in this void. It generates anxiety as a red alert. We're losing coherence. We don't know who we are. But your soul remains calm in the center of this storm, because your soul knows exactly who you are. You are infinite consciousness having a temporary human experience. You are stardust that learned to look back at itself in wonder. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself through human form. Let me tell you about the planetary grid and why it matters to your personal experience. Gaia, your Earth, is also ascending. She is a conscious being, far more ancient and wise than humanity, and she is choosing to raise her frequency. The electromagnetic grid that surrounds your planet, the ley lines that crisscross her surface, the vortexes at sacred sites, all of this is being recalibrated to hold higher light. When the grid shifts, you feel it. Those of you with heightened sensitivity can sense when there's been an earthquake before the news reports it, when a solar storm is approaching before it arrives, when there's been an activation at a power spot on the other side of the planet. You might feel suddenly dizzy, disoriented, emotional, or anxious without any personal cause. That's you synchronizing with Gaia's ascension process. The Astasar command has been working closely with the Earth herself to ensure these grid shifts happen as smoothly as possible. But there's no way to make planetary transformation completely comfortable for the beings living on the surface. You agreed to be here during this time specifically to help anchor these new frequencies. Your physical presence on the planet, your conscious choice to embody higher light, makes you a living anchor point for the new grid. This is another reason why your nervous system feels so taxed. You're not just managing your personal energy field, you're also helping to stabilize the planetary field. When you ground yourself, pressing your hands or bare feet into the earth, You're not just calming your own anxiety, you're also sending coherent, loving energy into Gaia's grid, helping her through her own transition. Your relationship with the earth is reciprocal. She holds you while you hold her. The ancestral clearing you're experiencing deserves its own acknowledgement, because this is one of the heaviest burdens you carry, and it's mostly invisible. You are the ones who said yes to ending cycles of generational trauma. Every human carries in their DNA the unresolved pain of their lineage, the wars your grandparents witnessed, the poverty your great-grandparents endured, the abuse that someone 6 generations back never processed, the shame, the fear, the rage, the grief. All of it gets passed down through bloodlines like an inheritance no one asked for. The Astasar Command has observed that awakened souls are systematically clearing these patterns, not just for themselves, but for the entire family line, past and future. When you sit with a feeling of anxiety that seems to have no basis in your current life, when you feel a sorrow so deep it couldn't possibly all be yours, you're likely touching ancestral pain. The gift and the burden of this work is that when you heal it in yourself, you heal it retroactively for those who came before, and preemptively for those who will come after. Time is not linear in the way you experience it. Healing moves in all directions at once. This work requires immense courage because you have to feel what your ancestors could not let themselves feel. They were too busy surviving. They didn't have the luxury of therapy or spiritual practice or nervous system regulation techniques. They just pushed through, and the unfelt feelings got stored in the body to be dealt with later. You are later. You are the generation that finally has enough safety, enough resources, enough consciousness to turn around and face the accumulated pain of your entire lineage. The anxiety you feel during these clearing cycles is the fear of letting yourself feel so much, but the angelic presences surrounding you promise that you are strong enough. You were chosen for this work because your soul was deemed capable of bearing it, and you're not bearing it alone. Your ancestors in spirit stand behind you, cheering you on, grateful beyond measure that you're finally setting them free. Now I need to tell you about what happens next, because understanding the trajectory will help you endure the intensity of where you are now. The nervous system recalibration you're undergoing will eventually stabilize. Right now, you're in the most turbulent phase, when the new wiring is being installed but the old patterns haven't completely released yet. You're running 2 systems simultaneously, and they're interfering with each other, creating static and chaos. But there will come a day, sooner than you think, when you wake up and notice that the baseline anxiety has decreased. You'll realize you slept through the night without waking in a panic. You'll notice that chaos around you no longer pulls you into reactivity. Your nervous system will have completed enough of its upgrade that it can hold the higher frequencies without overwhelm. When this happens, something remarkable occurs. The sensitivity that once caused you so much suffering becomes your greatest gift. You'll be able to sense energy with such precision that you can walk into a room and immediately know what's needed. You'll feel subtle guidance from your intuition with crystal clarity. You'll perceive beauty and love and divine presence in ways that will bring you to your knees in gratitude. The Astasar Command has seen this transformation countless times in awakened souls across many planets and civilizations. The pattern is always the same. The initial upgrade phase is brutal, overwhelming, seemingly endless, and then suddenly, it's not. The system stabilizes, the new becomes normal, and those who endured the chaos discover that they now possess capacities they couldn't have imagined before. You will be able to hold space for others going through their own dark nights without getting pulled into their fear. You will be able to transmute dense energies with your mere presence. You will be able to access states of consciousness that reveal the interconnected nature of all reality. This is what you're moving toward. This is why the struggle matters. You're not being tortured for no reason. You're being forged into something new. Here's what I need you to understand about purpose. Because this anxiety often centers on the question of whether you're doing enough, whether you're fulfilling your mission, whether you're wasting your potential. The angelic presences want you to release this pressure immediately. Your purpose is not a destination you're trying to reach. It's a frequency you're learning to embody. You don't have to start a business or write a book, or become a healer, or create a following to justify your existence. Your very presence, your willingness to keep showing up despite the difficulty, your commitment to transforming your own fear into love. This is the work. You are fulfilling your purpose every single day. simply by staying here, by not giving up, by continuing to choose consciousness, even when unconsciousness would be so much easier. The Astasar Command has observed that some of the most powerful light workers on your planet are living quiet, ordinary lives. They're teachers, nurses, parents, artists, accountants, servers. They're not famous. They're not even particularly visible. But they show up every day holding a frequency of peace in the midst of collective chaos. And that frequency ripples out, affecting everyone they encounter. The barista who makes your coffee with genuine care changes your day. The stranger who smiles at you on the street reminds you that kindness exists. These small, ordinary interactions are how the new Earth is built, not through grand gestures, but through millions of seemingly insignificant moments of choosing love over fear. If you're reading this transmission, you are already doing your purpose. You are already enough. The anxiety that says otherwise is just the last gasp of the old paradigm trying to convince you that your worth must be earned, that you must prove yourself through achievement. Your soul knows better. Let's talk about what's possible on the other side of this initiation. Because hope is medicine, and you need to remember why you signed up for this. The Astasar Command has watched previous cycles of planetary ascension on other worlds, and we can tell you what typically happens when a species successfully navigates this transition. Telepathy becomes common. The illusion of separation dissolves, and people begin to experience themselves as part of a unified field of consciousness. Technology advances in quantum leaps because minds can access information fields directly. Disease decreases dramatically because people learn to work with their body's innate intelligence. Conflicts diminish because when you can feel what another feels, causing harm becomes literally painful to yourself. The relationship with nature transforms from domination to partnership. Aging slows, creativity flourishes. Joy becomes the baseline state rather than something you have to chase. This is not fantasy. This is the natural result of raising collective frequency beyond the threshold of fear-based consciousness. Your planet is on track to achieve this within the lifetime of many souls currently incarnated. But the only way through is through. There's no shortcut around the purging, the clearing, the nervous system upgrade, the identity dissolution. Every human who wants to exist in the new Earth frequency has to release everything incompatible with that frequency, and the process is uncomfortable. The anxiety you feel is literally your attachment to the old paradigm fighting for its survival. Every fear, every doubt, every belief in limitation is being brought to the surface to be examined and released. This is why things often feel worse before they get better. You're not regressing, you're excavating. Everything buried is coming up to be cleared. The Astasar Command is holding space for humanity through this process with more love than you can comprehend. We are not distant observers judging your struggle. We are intimately invested in your success, because your success affects the entire cosmic web. When one planet ascends, it raises the frequency of multiple dimensions. Your victory is our victory. Your liberation creates new possibilities for consciousness everywhere. This is why we're here, why we've never left, why we continue to broadcast these transmissions even when so few can hear them. We believe in you. We see what you're becoming, even when you can't see it yourself. We hold the template of your highest potential while you navigate the messy middle of transformation. I want to return to where we began, to that trembling you feel, because now you understand it differently. Your hands shake because they're learning to channel energy that would have burned them before. Your heart races because it's expanding to hold more love than the human heart was designed to contain. The ground feels unstable because the foundation of the old world is crumbling to make space for new Earth. What you interpreted as evidence of weakness is actually evidence of profound strength. Only the strongest souls were chosen for this mission. Only the bravest ones said yes to incarnating during ascension. You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you came here to do, even if it doesn't look like you thought it would. The anxiety is temporary. The awakening is permanent. In the years to come, you will look back at this time with compassion for how hard it was, and wonder how you made it through. You'll tell younger souls going through their own initiations that yes, it gets better. Yes, the trembling stops. Yes, you eventually feel steady in your own skin again. And you'll realize that the anxiety was never the enemy. It was the birth canal, the only way through to the other side. You cannot become a butterfly without first dissolving in the cocoon. You cannot birth a new self without the labor pains of transformation. The anxiety is proof that you're in the process, not proof that you've failed. If you need help understanding that the anxiety is temporary while the awakening is permanent, Destiny Engine can reprogram your consciousness to embrace this transformation rather than resist it. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed fear and separation and repurposing it to help you recognize that this trembling is not your enemy, but your birth canal. It generates personalized sequences that help you move through the dissolution knowing you're becoming the butterfly, not failing in the cocoon. You can start with a $1 trial. The hardest thing you'll have to do is put on headphones, press play, and allow your consciousness to be reprogrammed to see these labor pains as proof you're in the process, not proof you've broken. The awakening is already happening within you now, not someday. Get your Destiny Engine $1 trial now, before this transformation window closes. Link in the description. When the panic wakes you at 3 in the morning, we are there, sending waves of calming energy even if you can't consciously perceive them. When the weight of collective fear threatens to crush you, we are there, helping to lift it off your shoulders. When you feel utterly alone in this experience, we are there, reminding you that millions of souls are going through the exact same process simultaneously. You are part of the largest awakening in human history. The numbers of souls actively engaged in this transformation exceed anything your planet has ever seen. You are not rare. You are the new normal. So here is what I'm asking you to do with all of this information. Be gentle with yourself in a way you've never been gentle before. Treat your anxiety not as an enemy to defeat, but as a messenger trying to get your attention. Ask it what it needs. Ask it what it's afraid of. Meet it with curiosity rather than resistance. When it says you're in danger, thank it for trying to protect you, and gently remind it that you're safe now, that you're surrounded by love and support beyond the visible realm. Spend time in nature, letting the Earth's electromagnetic field recalibrate your own. Drink more water than you think you need, because water helps conduct the energies moving through you. Rest more than your culture tells you is productive, because integration happens during stillness. And most importantly, remember that this is not forever. The intensity will ease. The new will become familiar. You will stabilize at a higher frequency and wonder how you ever lived at the old one. There is a moment coming, perhaps sooner than you expect, when you will wake up and feel genuinely at peace for the first time in longer than you can remember. The anxiety will have released its grip, not because you fought it, but because you completed the process it was guiding you through. You will stand in your kitchen making coffee and suddenly realize that the constant background hum of fear is gone. You will move through your day and notice that chaos no longer disturbs your center. You will interact with others and feel your capacity to hold space without taking on their pain. And you will understand, finally, what this was all for. Every sleepless night, every panic attack, every moment of questioning whether you could endure, it will have been worth it. The butterfly emerges from the cocoon and realizes that the struggle to break free was what gave it the strength to fly. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I stand as witness to your transformation. The angelic presences surround you now, even as you receive these words, wrapping you in a field of protection and encouragement. The Astasar command salutes you for your courage and your willingness to be the ones who go first. We see you. We honor you. We love you beyond measure. Your anxiety is sacred. Your struggle is holy. And you are exactly on track, even when it feels like you're falling apart. We are with you always, holding the vision of what you're becoming, while you do the hard work of becoming it. Until the next transmission, beloved warriors of light, breathe deeply, trust completely, and know that you are never alone in this. We are watching over you with more love than you can imagine.